You see what happens when you joke about something? You do it too much, it becomes real, and now it is real, all right? Jujutsu Kaisen is back. Alright guys, welcome back to the channel, and today, yes, we're going to be talking about the new Jujutsu Kaisen Modulo manga, or rather, Jujutsu Kaisen Shippuden, because that is essentially what we're getting. So, if you remember, the manga itself ended almost a year ago to the date. It ended like in September 20-something, 30-something of last year, and only a year later are we getting the follow-up to that whole debacle. And also, before we go any further, this video, if you can't tell, will contain spoilers for the JJK manga. So if you have not finished that at all, don't watch this, because why would you? So I say debacle because when the manga ended last year, everybody had mixed feelings about it. They said, hey, this ended too soon. The fight that we got, the final fight between Sukuna and everybody, was too short. There was no backstory, yada yada. This can't be the end. This has to be some sort of joke. And we all had speculations that Gege would continue the manga in some form or another after hearing negative reviews. And for a while, it looked like he wasn't going to. He was on his own, doing his own thing, vacationing, drawing One Piece cards for Oda, saying how he pretty much was bogged down by his entire creation, kind of like a Frankenstein's monster type situation where he's just become consumed with his own creation, that he's over it by now. But nope, a year later, here we are at a further retelling of the story. And about 2 weeks before this actually came out, there was a report saying that he was working on a new series, but it was separate from the JJK universe, something his own story entirely, and it's going to be short, something that he wants to work on personally. So everyone was kind of like, oh, okay, that kind of sucks, but we get it, the way that, you left that series. Go do something new. Maybe this will be like your new great creation. So then fast forward to last week before the actual chapter itself came out, we got leaks. Look at that, JJK leaks, I haven't heard that one before, that this actually was a continuation of the mainstay story of Jujutsu Kaisen, and this was going to take place about 86 years or something like that in the future from the final chapter of the original run, and it's going to be the main characters of Yuta and Maki's grandchildren. That's right, they got busy, and then their children got busy, and we got these grandchildren, aka Yuka and Tsurugi. And there's also a third character, Maru, who is actually an alien. Look at that. Just like Naruto, we got weird aliens in the main storyline. So again, 86 years in the future, and somehow aliens got word of sorcerers, and I guess they're only in Japan according to this new series that, all the other countries have people who fight or whatever, but Japan exclusively has these sorcerers, and the aliens got word of it, and they heard that they're just as strong as they themselves. So basically, Maru, I guess, is sort of a scout in a way. He's going to visit Earth to see, hey, what are these people made of? How strong can they possibly be? So the story picks up with Yuta and Maki's grandchildren, who are 16, Tsurugi, the boy, and then 14 for Yuka. So they're still growing and getting to know themselves as far as like their powers go. But we learned that they have a strong dynamic growing up, a sibling rivalry, if you will, so much so that Yuta gave his granddaughter, Yuka, his ring, the one that, what's her name, Rika, gave him, or they bounded themselves to. But when she got older, the mother said, hey, give me this ring, I'm going to give it to your brother because he's going to be the chosen one. He's the new hotness of our family, basically. So Yuka and Tsurugi's master, much like the Gojo of the group, I don't know his name, I don't think we actually even got the name. He looks like, what's his name from the original series, the worn down salaryman look. Again, great look for them. And so he gives them a mission. Hey, I need you guys to go investigate these missing children. They're disappearing in this one part of Tokyo or Kyoto, wherever they're at, and we need to figure out what's going on. Specifically, also correction, I went back right now and checked. Tsurugi is 17 and Yuka is 16, so they're a little bit older than what I mentioned earlier. So yeah, they're hired, or sent out to go find out what's going on, and Maru is also there to observe on behalf of the aliens, which I think they all know at this point. He mentions, hey, I'm only here as an observer, I can't really get involved. They say that he's from a different country, but I'm not sure that they really know that he's an alien, but it's not a secret. It's weird. And so throughout the chapter, we get to know both of these siblings. More so, Yuka, she seems to be like the more main character of the story, because her and Maru split up, and as they're searching for these clues or whatever, he's getting to know her mindset and how she feels about her brother. stating that, he took this ring from me. I'm never gonna be able to get it unless I beat him or he dies. I don't care how it happens. I don't really care about him, to be honest. And Maru, being a sibling himself, as he mentions, he feels a certain way about this. Like, hey, you shouldn't have this thoughts about your brother. Like, that's your sibling at the end of the day. You should cherish him and love him and all this stuff. So we're learning how she feels, and then we kind of get a description of Tsurugi himself. We see him and how he's perceived by her, but then we get a little bit of his backstory, and that he was more so brought up kind of like as like the chosen one of the family. Like, hey, here's all this pressure on you. You're the one who's going to carry our name. You need to be the one who's going to be the one representing us when you go out into the world. And we find out that he is also kind of like Maki. Actually, not kind of. He actually is exactly like Maki, where he can't use any cursed energy. He has to use a sword, which we see, which is his cursed tool. And Yuka has more of the powers in her family, which I don't really think we got any clue of what she can do really, but we did get a hint that they are not strong. They're okay, but everybody else in the sorcerer world are not as strong as Gojo and Yuji. They state that, hey, like, those were the most powerful sorcerers of their time, and it's crazy that we haven't got anybody who has come close to them. So I guess somewhere along the lines, all the families and whatever, the magic itself in this world has dwindled, so you're not getting anybody who is like that level of a sorcerer. So we got to know that Gojo is the strongest, and after he passes away, I'm assuming it's Yuta, and then Yuji somewhere in the middle, or kind of at the end of it. So yeah, we're not as strong as we were in the original series, so I'm not sure how I feel about that, but I'm sure we'll get further on that's not true probably. I'm sure they're going to grow and become just as strong as the formers. But yeah, the chapter itself and the series itself, I'm kind of getting a hard read on it. I'm not sure how I feel about it. Some of the writing seems pretty like fun and silly, so it seems a lot less serious as the original JJK run, but we do kind of get a hint at like the darker theme towards the end when we see the bad guy and how he's kidnapping these children and he's packaging them and selling them to other nations. That's where this Japan being the strongest comes into play, because I guess that the black market pays for sorcerers because I guess they're so high value. Like, hey, our country doesn't have any, so if we just buy one from Japan, we'll have our own sorcerers and representation over here in like America or here in England, whatever. Whoever wants one can just buy them. So this guy's kind of like the supplier. He kidnaps them by putting them in his domain, where it's kind of like an alleyway, a maze type situation, where if you go down it, you get lost and then he just captures you. But it is just mainly children at this point, but he does want to expand. And yeah, that's the darker theme that we got. But as far as like the story itself, it seems pretty chill so far. It's really hard to get a read on how I feel about it, because it's just like, it's hard when you have to get used to new characters and start to care about new characters. So right now, that's how I feel overall on the series. But I do think it's going to be good, and I do think that this break that Gege took was needed, and maybe he felt that the characters that he had created aren't worth going back to and exploring because he maybe fucked up too much. And he's like, you know what, let me not go back and deal with that. So let me just skip ahead way in the future, so that way we can like put that behind us, and maybe we'll have callbacks every once and so often to the former characters, but we're on these characters now. Like, just forget everything you know. This is something new. This is where we're going at from here on out. Which sucks, and I could see how some people would not want to read this or be part of it, because we did care so much about the original cast, and then the anime itself that's coming out, we're going to care even more when we see them. So it is going to be tough to be like, oh man, like they were so cool there. Why did we have to move on from that? Why did we have to go onto this new cast that we don't really care about? But I do think there's a place for this story to be told. I'm just not sure if like the approach was, the best, especially introducing like these aliens out of nowhere. Kind of weird, but who knows? Maybe this was like an original series that he was working on, and then he kind of thought about it and was like, well, I could just connect it to the main story of JJK and be like part of the continuity there. So maybe it was like a last minute thing, because these characters do seem different than the original series. The only connection they have is that, Yuta and Maki were their grandparents. But other than that, it doesn't really feel like Jujutsu Kaisen. We haven't really seen anything crazy connected that way. So I don't know, maybe it was just like another one of those also things where he's like, well, if I connect it, I can sell more copies of my book and more people will read it. But that could be a detriment, because it could be like a Boruto situation where we don't really care what's going on there. But I am interested to see where the story goes and where the reception will lay after a few chapters in, and say like, hey, yeah, this is good or this is bad, why do we need it? I'm sure it'll get mixed reviews no matter what, because people can't let go of certain things and they want to be stubborn, even if it is good. Just like, again, Boruto, people who watched it hate it, but the people who read the manga are like, no, it's actually really good once you get past like a certain amount, whatever. It could be another one of those situations. But I do think that Gege himself is a good voice within the manga community, and I do want to see more stories from him, so I'm glad that we got this. And I feel like people changed on him too quickly and like were too harsh on him and kind of forced this break that he took. So I think he deserves a chance to come back and right some of his wrongs and maybe, earn the good graces from fans, because, everybody says, hey, this would have been like the greatest manga ever if you would have just stuck the landing and you rushed it towards the end, whatever, you were going through, you messed up. But this is his chance at redemption, and I think that we should, take this chance to give it to him. But yeah, as far as the story goes, who knows what will happen? This is a whole new original story, which I kind of like because you can't really get too many fan theories, because I also feel like that is what ruined the original run, where too many people were speculating and coming up with their own theories about where the story could possibly go, and they were let down ultimately when they never went that way. So brand new slate is good for him. He can do what he wants. You can speculate all you want because you don't know much about these characters at all. So I do think that's good. But yeah, it is unknown at this point where it's going to go. I don't have any theories. I don't have any predictions for this. Only prediction I have is that people will get stronger and cooler. So yeah, those are my thoughts on this overall entire series itself and where it lays currently. I will continue to be reading until I get uninterested, but I don't think that will happen for a while because at this point it's so new that I am interested. So if you want to read it, it is on the Shonen Jump app and I'm sure other places. But if you want to check it out, that's where I read it at. And maybe you might like it, you might hate it. I don't know. Whatever your feelings are, you can let me know down below. And argue with me, tell me why it's dumb, why it's amazing, all that stuff. Whatever you want to put down there. Also, if you want to subscribe while you're here, I appreciate that as well. We're almost at 600 subscribers. So close, but yet so far away. Please help us out here. And if you want to follow us on Instagram, the links are also down below, and TikTok as well. So yeah, that's the new Jujutsu Kaisen Modulo. I'm not sure how to say it. I don't want to get in trouble, but the way that I read it is modulo. So yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching. As always, we appreciate you. And until next time, go learn a new attack.